Welcome everyone to Steve Savant's Money, the name of the game. I'm your host, Steve Savant, syndicated financial columnist and money color commentator. On today's show, alternative college funding, part 3 in our series on tax advantage income investing with Indices, with nationally recognized retirement expert and certified financial planner, Chris Jacob. Welcome to the third segment, Chris.
Great to be here.
Well, first of all, you're stunning me. We talked about it in a profit sharing plan in the last 2 segments. Now we're talking another oddball. It's in college funding. Now, I never thought about this. I'm thinking 529 plans, Coverdale, the traditional, I'm going to FAFSA, my apps for the federal loan. Now we're talking about Index Universal Life as a funding vehicle, as an alternative funding vehicle for college education. Talk about that.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing when you think about it. You know, I just ask people if what you believe to be true turned out not to be true, when would you want to know about it? And I think I got the best answer from my brother. He said 10 years ago. Most people say now. But let's talk about IUL college funding and retirement, because a lot of people are, you know, they're hit with this. Even though they know it's coming, whether they've saved or not, there is an opportunity cost that you're saving for this, that it's going to be spent for college, or you're having to fund it with current cash flow. Now, I actually have a daughter. I'm in St. Louis. She's in Colorado, and she has an offshoot of our firm. Our firm's called Cadeau, and hers is Cadeau College Planning. And it's amazing what I've seen Indexed Universal Life do as an asset class in this whole framework of college planning. And let's talk about that. You talked about all these other things, Steve, so let's look. Possible benefits on the left: creditor approved, guaranteed growth, tax deferred accumulation, tax-free use, high contribution limits, competitive rate of return, maybe disability protection, financial aid invisible. As you're going to see, that's critical, and transferable. Permanent life insurance, raw stock, mutual funds, uniform transfer to minor account, uniform gift to minor account, prepaid tuition, Coverdale that you talked about in 529 plans. Red's bad, green's good. Where would you like to be putting your money?
Is this pretty much the universe here when we're talking college planning?
I can't think of anything else.
Okay.
At least it's legal.
Okay, all right. So just make sure we're understanding here. And we're going to get into the big one, the invisibility of this showing up on what qualifies a person to get loans and so forth. When I'm looking at this, I always thought age was a problem, you know, or when did I start funding the policy? You seem to be okay with a lot of this.
Yeah, I mean, as long as you're under 65, we're pretty good. And I don't know how many people have kids going to college when they're 65. I'm sure some, but for the most part, no. So we talked about the FAFSA, which is the free application for federal student aid. And what do you have to report on FAFSA that determines your eligibility for what you have as what's called expected family contribution, acronym EFC, okay? Pretty much everything that you have in stocks, bonds, mutual funds that aren't in IRAs, all the 529 plans that you have in your child's name, or that grandma has where she's the contributor and that child's the beneficiary, everything you have in UTMA accounts, everything you have in UGMA accounts, and any accounts that are in the child's name. All those count against you for that expected family contribution.
You'd almost not want to even start saving in a 529 or a
all the
Coverdale.
things that they tell you, put money into this for college education, are the very things that count against you the most when it comes time to find aid. And most of you sitting out there are going to say, well, I'm not going to get aid anyway. I make too much money. Maybe from a state school perspective, but trust me, from a private school, I've seen people $400,000 or $500,000 of income qualified for a substantial amount of merit-based aid and need-based aid from those private schools.
Now, I've noticed also in this area of college funding that just because the state school's tuition is lower in comparison to a private, the privates sometimes are much more benevolent in what they're going to set aside for you to use as a loan or a scholarship or a grant.
Let me give you a prime example of that. I was in a meeting with my daughter a few weeks ago, and prior to her doing this planning, the expected family contribution was $116,000. After doing planning that you're going to see we took part of in here, she got that expected family contribution down to $34,000. Boulder, Colorado, I believe, was $36,000, so they would qualify for $2,000 of aid there. From my hometown, St. Louis, Missouri, Washington University, stickers for $70,000. She was able to get that child to attend Washington University for $25,000.
Wow. Wow, wow.
Going to a private prestigious school for less than what it would cost to a state school.
So you need to look at this, don't you? You really need to do the due diligence.
Yeah, okay. Most people don't. And by the way, I didn't either when my kids went to school. So notice this. Investments do not include the home you live in, the value of what? Life insurance. Retirement plans like 401ks and IRAs, pension funds, pensions that you're receiving, and annuities. You could have $2 million sitting in annuities and life insurance. It's not a countable asset.
It's not accountable. So your equity in your home, the cash value equity in your life insurance, and a non-qualified annuity, no problems?
100% stealth.
Wow.
So, by the way, there are some colleges that use what's called the CSSI profile where the equity in your home does count. But for those that use the FAFSA form only, your equity doesn't. Don't mean to get too granular there. But here's the question, how much is it going to cost? Yeah, but how's it going to affect my retirement and other planning? So, real couple, 45, twin 13-year-old girls, they're hoping to retire in 19 years. So I asked him, I said, how much is it going to cost for the girls to go to school? He said, we're figuring 25 grand a piece. I said, so that's 50 grand a year for 4 years? He said, yeah. He says, and we got a lot of that saved in 529 plans already. I said, well, good for you. So I said, the cost for the girls to go to college is $200,000, right? He said, yeah. I said, but what's the opportunity cost on that $200,000? He said, what do you mean? He said, well, your joint life expectancy is 91. You told me you could get 6% on your money. Yeah, you paid $200,000, but the foregone opportunity cost on the interest on $200,000 through age 91 is $1.6 million. It didn't cost $200,000 to send the kids to college. It cost $1,888,000 to send the kids to college. Does that surprise you? He almost fell off his chair. Okay, can't do anything about the $200,000, but we can keep that working for you, as you're going to see. So how can we use IUL as a college funding and retirement plan? And this is just one way. There's a whole nother series we could do on this. So these folks were max funding money over and above their qualified plan match contributions, so we redirected that here. To that extent, they were able to fund 20 grand a year for 4 years. But Steve, notice something interesting here. For the 4 years that the girls are going to go to college, they've got 50 in 529 plans. We're going to take the 50 out of the 529 plan, write a check to the insurance company, and then immediately borrow that out literally the next week using one of these participating loans. Why would we do that? Notice I'm not borrowing from, I'm borrowing against. Look what's happening to what's called my accumulation value, the amount that's being credited with the index. What's happening net of me borrowing $50,000?
It's increasing.
It's increasing. It continues to grow. So I'm putting that money to use for me. I'm not killing compounding. They're out of college. They continue to fund for 20. They now start an income stream for retirement at $59,000 a year, tax-free. And you'll notice what's happening to that accumulation value net of them taking the $59,000. It's increasing, right? Because it's, if you've been paying attention, what's called a participating loan. So that goes all the way out actually until age 120.
So you're combining, if I'm understanding your platform here, their college planning for their two daughters as well as their retirement plan in one chassis.
In one chassis. Okay. Yep,
right.
kind of
Gotcha.
neat.
All right.
So we talk about these wealth reports that we prepare for people when we compare what else could you do with the money, taxable, tax deferred, tax exempt, and if you look at it, the clear winner by 85 in terms of income and tax-free benefit to the family is Indexed Universal Life. It never ran out of money. Those others did at those various ages. This is the big screen with a lot going on, but this is the comparison numbers that show if we were to utilize a taxable account, a tax-deductible, tax-deferred versus a tax-free account, perhaps like a 529 plan. All of those others aren't going to even come close to providing the benefits that we're going to get out of the Indexed Universal Life with the participating loan. Those all crater. That continues on to age 120. Now let's talk about cost, which always come up, and we break down the cost. And for once, Steve, you never know. It's always been a black box. You never knew what was going on under the hood in these insurance policies. With these newer Indexed Universal Life policies, we can show you year by year by year exactly what the cost attendant is. Certainly in the early years, the insurance is going to, quote, cost more than the other options. But let's look what happens at the age at which you start taking money out. Now what's the cost? $2,400 versus $10,000 versus $29,000 versus $5,000. I am much better off expense-wise. Not only am I going to have more money that's going to last me a longer period of time, but my expenses are going to be a lot less in retirement, exactly when I need the money. So this is a breakdown on the chart, as you can see, by 85. Now, you might say taxable is my lowest, but remember, it ran out of money at age 74. Okay, or you might say tax exempt is less. Yeah, but it ran out of money at age 77. This never ran out. So in total, this life insurance / college planning, retirement planning was actually my least cost and never ran out of money. So when we use the InsMark platform to compare this, and we're comparing, let's give equities the benefit of the doubt, 7%. Let's say 529 plan gets a 7% yield. We'll even assume the 529 plan lets you take it out tax-free for retirement, which isn't going to happen. Here's the indexed universal life. Once you start accessing that money during retirement, again, pulling from, pulling against, that isn't going to run out of money. There's my differential. Close, but no cigar. About $1.2 million, which I guess isn't close on money from the policy. So in order to generate the same benefits of the insurance at 6%, again, I'd have to be doing better than double digits each and every year without a down year. And my tax-free money would have to be getting 9.3%. Not impossible, but highly improbable. Once again, we offer, if you want to do a deeper dive into this, go to our website here, create a username and a password. We have 13 different videos that will take you through and walk you through the educational process on how these policies work.
Well, I'm thinking that I love the idea of the FAFSA app doesn't even include annuities, home equity, my home equity, and my life insurance cash values. It's not even on the app.
You could be sitting with $2 million of cash in your insurance policy. You don't even have to report it.
Well, don't forget to watch our next segment, Business Owner's Exit Strategy, part 4 in our series on tax-advantaged income investing with Indices. And keep in mind, before moving forward with any of the ideas on our show, always check with your tax consultant, legal counsel, or your financial advisor. You've been watching Steve Savant's Money, the name of the game.